My beloved child, you have carried wounds for far too long. I see the hurt you hide, the bitterness you bury, the memories you replay. But I am here today to remind you, forgiveness is not your enemy. Forgiveness is your freedom. I know the pain they caused. I saw the injustice. I felt every tear that fell. But when you hold on to resentment, you bind yourself in chains I never intended for you. Today, I want to lead you into release. Today, I want to teach you the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness begins with me. You did not earn it. You did not deserve it. Yet I gave it freely at the cross. Colossians chapter 3, verse 13 says, "Bear with each other and forgive one another, if any of you has a grievance against someone. Forgive as the Lord forgave you." Do you see? Forgiveness is not just an act of mercy. It is an act of reflection. You forgive because you are forgiven. My child, do not confuse forgiveness with forgetting. Forgiveness does not erase memory. Forgiveness transforms memory. It no longer becomes a wound, but a testimony of my healing. Forgiveness is freedom, not approval of sin. Forgiveness is release, not reconciliation without wisdom. Forgiveness is obedience, not weakness. When you forgive, you are not saying what they did was right. You are saying, I refuse to let their wrong destroy my future. You are saying, I choose God's justice over my own revenge. My child, let me show you the beauty of forgiveness lived out in my word. These are not just stories. They are mirrors of what I can do in your life. In Genesis chapters 37 through 50, Joseph knew betrayal more deeply than most. His own brothers, the ones meant to protect him, stripped him of his robe and sold him into slavery. They abandoned him to strangers, left him for dead, and lied to their father about his fate. For years, Joseph carried wounds of rejection, slavery, and imprisonment. But when I raised him to power in Egypt, he did not seek revenge. Instead, when famine struck and his brothers came begging for food, Joseph wept. He embraced them and declared, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." Forgiveness turned betrayal into salvation, not only for Joseph, but for an entire nation. In Genesis chapter 33, Jacob tricked his brother Esau, stole his birthright, deceived their father, and ran away in fear. Years later, when Jacob returned, he expected Esau's sword. Instead, Esau ran to meet him, embraced him, and kissed him. Esau chose forgiveness over revenge. He chose reconciliation over bitterness. His act of grace softened Jacob's heart and restored a broken family line. In 1 Samuel chapters 24 and 26, King Saul chased David like an animal, seeking to kill him. Twice, David found Saul vulnerable, once in a cave, once in his camp. He could have ended his enemy's life, yet David refused to strike, saying, "I will not lay my hand on the Lord's anointed." David forgave Saul in action, proving that real forgiveness is not just words. It's choosing mercy when revenge is within reach. In Act 7, as stones rained down on Stephen, his body breaking, his spirit lifted to me. His final words were not curses, but mercy. "Lord, do not hold this sin against them." Even as life left his body, Stephen chose forgiveness. His prayer echoed the forgiveness of my son and planted seeds that would one day touch Saul, the very man who watched his death, transforming him into Paul, the great apostle, in Luke chapter 23. And finally, my son, betrayed by a friend, denied by his disciples, mocked by the crowd, beaten by soldiers, pierced by nails. Every reason to withhold mercy, every reason to demand justice. Yet he lifted his eyes to heaven and prayed, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." This was not weakness. It was victory. In his forgiveness, the power of sin was broken. In his release, the doors of heaven opened wide for you. These stories are not distant history. They are living truth. And they are proof that forgiveness is possible, even in the deepest wounds. Unforgiveness poisons your spirit. It whispers bitterness into your thoughts. It robs you of joy. It builds walls where I intended bridges. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 31 commands, "Get rid of all bitterness, rage and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice." Why? Because these are heavy weights, and you were never meant to walk burdened. Unforgiveness keeps you chained to the offense, but forgiveness sets you free to walk forward. Child, I know forgiveness is not easy, but I will show you the path. Step by step, you can walk free. First, bring the hurt to me. Do not bury your pain. Speak it, cry it, write it, pour it before me. David did this in the Psalms. He brought his grief, his anger, even his questions, and I met him there. When you bring me your wound, I begin the healing. Second, pray for your offender. This may feel impossible, but prayer changes you before it changes them. When you whisper, "Lord, bless them, even as they hurt me," your heart begins to soften. Remember Job. When he prayed for his friends, I restored his fortunes. Praying for others opens the door for me to restore you. Third, speak forgiveness aloud. Your words hold life and death. Say, "I forgive them in Jesus' name." Say it again and again until your emotions bow to the truth. Forgiveness is both an act of obedience and a declaration of freedom. Fourth, release daily. Some wounds do not vanish in one prayer. They require daily surrender. Every time the memory rises, lay it at the cross again. Say, "I choose release." This is not weakness. This is warfare. You are refusing to let the enemy bind you again. Fifth, set healthy boundaries. Forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. You may forgive someone, yet keep distance for your safety, your peace, or your healing. Even my son withdrew at times. Forgiveness is not foolishness. It is wisdom clothed in grace. Sixth, receive my healing. When you forgive, you create space, and I fill that space with peace. Let me remind you of who you are, not a victim, but victorious, not bound by bitterness, but clothed in joy. Isaiah chapter 61 promises beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, praise for despair. That is what forgiveness opens to you. Finally, walk as a witness. Your forgiveness becomes a testimony. When others ask, "How did you survive? How did you let go?" you will answer, "Because I am forgiven, I forgive." Your release becomes someone else's encouragement. Your obedience becomes someone else's freedom. Forgiveness makes you radiant. It sets you apart. When others see your peace, they will ask, "How did you overcome?" And you will testify, "Because I have been forgiven much, I forgive much." Your life becomes a living sermon of grace, and in your release, others find hope to release too. Now, my beloved child, let go. Release the name, the memory, the weight. Place it at my feet. I bless you with freedom. I bless you with healing. I bless you with peace. Walk lighter. Walk freer. Walk forgiven, for I am with you, always. Amen.